Let's bring in NewsNation's Brian Enton, who had exclusive interviews with Kaylee Gonsalves' family this weekend. Really a well-done special. Really helped me understand the context of the questions. And, of course, he is on the scene in Moscow, Idaho. Renowned forensic scientist Dr. Larry Kobilinsky and private investigator T.J. Ward. Brian, first of all, did I lay it out basically as you understand it?
Yeah, you laid it out perfectly. I think you made a really good point, Chris, when you said we don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Yes, investigators are basically silent, but they may have a lot of information or they might not have a lot of information. We just don't know right now. Yes, the families are getting frustrated. You can understand what they're going through, the misery they're in. It's a nightmare, but that doesn't mean that the police aren't working hard behind the scenes.
The families absolutely should be frustrated. They are in pain. They want answers. They want to get their loved ones home and give them burial for closure. You and I have seen this time and time again, and they have no need for forgiveness. They should be pushing everything, and that's right. Something else happened that you reported very well, Brian. The authorities got jammed up and had cross-communication lines about, whether this was targeted or not. They said things, they expanded them, they pulled it back. Somebody else came out, they had to say it was miscommunication. So they got burned early on. That's another reason that people get quiet in an investigation, right, Brian?
Yeah, the past week was a bit of a communication, issue. Initially, they said that it was a target attack. Then the prosecutor told me when I sat down with him that they weren't really sure, that he didn't believe the victims were targeted, but the house may have been targeted. Then the next day, police walked that back and said, no, we have an internal miscommunication between the detectives and the prosecutor, and we do believe it's targeted. And I don't think any of that helped the situation with the families because it just led to more frustration.
Larry Kobilinsky, the idea that it may have been a K-bar or other heavy military hunting-style fixed-blade knife, that does shed some understanding on why the coroner is floored by the scene, yes? Explain.
Without a doubt. One thing that we haven't seen yet are the autopsy reports. And the autopsy reports are going to describe each and every blow from that knife. And from that information, the coroner is going to be able to say the knife is either serrated or no, it's straight edge. The coroner will be even able to say the width of the blade. Is it 2 inches? Is it 1.5 inches? Is it 3 inches? What they cannot do is tell the length of the blade because, once you put the knife in, it can go different distances. You can't really measure that in a body. But there is some basic information that you can have. And I think that's why the police are focusing their attention on a type of knife based upon the width of the blade and whether it's serrated or straight edge.
TJ, you've seen so many fact patterns like this that have confusing aspects to it early on, especially. The one that I can't get my hands around yet is what happened the next morning with the other roommates who survived. Why they survived, why they weren't targeted, we don't know, whether it was just dumb luck or happenstance or choice. But the call, someone's unconscious, how did they get in? Did they call other people or friends to come over? How do you understand that part of this?
Well, you really can't understand until we start getting some information from law enforcement. And I know the family is totally frustrated. Yesterday, there was information that came out that they wanted to hire a private investigator. And why I guess to say that I'm in the spotlight now. And I think it would be a good idea. It might ease some information that people that talk to witnesses and all that talk to law enforcement may be more willing to talk to a private investigator because they're not law enforcement and be able to gather information and be able to share that with the family and to give them some closure about what's happening with law enforcement. I got 48 years of law enforcement behind my belt, and I can tell you they're not going to share information until they have an exact person or exact information down to the fact that they're going to get out in the media and discuss this or discuss it with the family. So it's a matter of time. There's a lot of information that's having to be gathered. We don't have one victim, we have 4 victims. And then there are other characters that were in the house and people in the house. And again, we don't know if this was a man or a woman or whatever. We don't know. Right. It could have been a distracted housewife or somebody that was jealous or whatever. But so we don't know, because I've heard a lot of talk about this man and this man. It may not be a man. It may be a woman. Right. But we don't know at this point. But again, I've reached out to the family and told them I'm available. I have 2 good homicide detectives that are retired here from Atlanta and that work with me, and we'd be more than happy to get in here and start pulling pieces together. And if we learn something that's new and credible, we'll turn it over to law enforcement. But I think it would help the family quite a bit that they know they have somebody that they can trust and somebody on their side that can help them and move forward on their behalf.
And the one thing that you know very well, and in fact everybody on the screen right now understands, that may be new for people at home, all these families want, of course they want answers. They want their babies home. They want their loved ones home, to have them, to bury them, and to have that moment and closure. It's very, very important in these situations. And the time between when that happens and now is an eternity for them. And you have to appreciate that pain in everything that transpires. Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.